Versus Team Dignitas. Obey this time on the this side of the screen with the first pick. I always forget it's mirrored. But we'll see. We'll see Obey with the first selection. They're going to ban out the Morgan nice and quick.
I don't want to first pick it because you see what kind of happens to you when you first pick that god.
Yeah.
Though Obey has first picked it in the past. I'm a little bit surprised that they aren't willing to pick it in that slot, but clearly looking for one of the two warriors with that soul ban. Dignitas does not take the bait, leaves both Osiris and Bellona open, and bans away the Naja from Twig. Love that ban from Dig.
I still like the Morgan as the first selection. Obey Alliance have a bigger picture in mind as they go with the Terra. I think it just alters the way the enemy team has to select too much, but Obey don't want to go for it. Now, you were talking, you liked the Assassin bans by Dignitas.
Yeah, I really like the Naja one in particular. Serket, you just don't want to give that to Captain Twig at any stages. Dignitas doing exactly what Obey did, and don't be surprised if Obey look for the Nemesis themselves in this scenario.
Obey Alliance lock in the Kernanos, so the dual lane kind of set in stone, unless Maniac plays the Terra, but I don't think so. And the last selection for Obey in their first half. Like we said, I'd like to see the Nemesis, but it will be the Sun Wukong, likely to be in the hands of, well, we don't know yet.
I was going to say, I don't know. That could very easily be Captain Twig. We've seen him play that in the jungle. Sinosure went for a jungle. Sun Wukong as well. There's a god that can be played in that role. I wouldn't hate to see it in this particular lineup just because Dignitas, again, has those two warriors. You want to make sure that you aren't getting invaded, so just pick a warrior for yourself.
I've always liked Jungle Sun Wukong. I think that in different metas it's been more powerful than some others, and this is going to be one that is actually decent in. It's just a lot of people kind of sit there and go, why? But my question to that is sort of why not? Like, what doesn't he have that a traditional jungler would have outside of burst? But then you look at how hard that Tiger Stun hits.
That scaling is crazy. He hits really, really hard, no doubt about it.
And so at the end, I think really what helps it out is Khepri is selected alongside Kronos, Odin on the left, and the final selection will be the Nox.
Interesting.
Nox support?
No. No. Just no.
Aggro doesn't like to have any fun.
That is okay. True,
whatsoever.
But in terms of Nox support, I think it can be good. I really do. I think that it. Oh yeah, I'm the one who doesn't like to have fun. I think it can be good. It's just a matter of who would you put mid, Kernanos? Then who would you put Hunter? I mean, it just wouldn't fit with the draft.
I mean, you can put Odin mid.
You could. You could also just draft Arachne, Anubis. You know, the whole A squad.
Whoa! Do not talk smack about Anubis. We will have issues.
Tom, I don't know how to tell you this, but Anubis is not the best god in the game right now.
Okay, this is actually really funny, especially since I haven't really streamed. I have played nothing but Anubis for the past, like, 72 hours.
And that's why you haven't been streaming, because you don't want to have everyone watch you lose?
No, I've won, like, 90% of my games.
Someone smite guru this man's recent games and tell me if this is true.
Dead serious. Emilzy and Trix Tank gonna be dead serious about pushing out of each other's jungle. And minions have spawned, and we'll see Obey start at the red buff. Dignitas try to defend in the mid lane and successfully do. The Okie doke kill not going to go the way of the red squad, or excuse me, the blue team.
Obey very worried about getting out pushed, so they bring Maniac in to ensure that they're the ones with pressure in that mid lane. Problem is, that means Variety gets free reign on this right-hand side, at least for the moment. It is only going to take the minis off of the blue buff. Now Twig going to rotate in with Maniac to secure these fire elementals. Twig's a big fan of the chivalry adventure, or not adventure, but event, clearly. I mean, he played the Osiris skin game 1. Now he's playing the Odin skin. What other skins were there? Tier skin. If this was a best of 3 and Dignitas won, could see Twig going for the tier skin. Anubis had a skin too. They could have picked Anubis.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
What do you mean you have no idea what I'm talking about?
Right side, Dig's invading. They're looking for the blue buff. Maniac going to be kept underneath his tower. Sun Wukong kind of really needs that blue buff in order to stay as pokey as he wants. Yuo Fred in trouble. Bracer once, can't do it twice. Captain Twig earns himself and his team first blood, 500 bounty.
And that's what Odin does in the early game, man. Surprise burst with that bird bomb. Good communication between Maniac and Twig. Maniac with the stun, guaranteeing the fact that no way to get out of that bird bomb from Captain Twig. And that means that they're going to get pressure on this right-hand side. You said Maniac needs a blue. Well, he's going to get one.
He's got one up front and one back at home. Emilzy go ahead and pick that one up. So fantastic stuff coming out.
I just heard an interesting factoid. F. Dot.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Production coming up clutch as always. In my ear, I heard that you are 5-4 recently with Anubis.
But if you look at the stats,
that means you lost 4 times?
Okay, I have legitimate, like, actual, like, gripes about the ones that have lost. Like one with a DC, one with an actual troll that said in lobby. And I kid you not, we have F. Dot on the team, so I will lose intentionally. He picked the Morrigan and never left base.
You told him to pick Anubis and then he traded it to you, and then you played Anubis and lost? Nice undefeated record there, F. Dot.
I never said I was undefeated.
You literally said you won 90% of your games, so
well,
that's pretty close.
You know what? They were moral victories.
You get a lot of those these days, don't you?
I do. I really do.
Glad to hear it.
Mid lane, pretty prime here. And actually, I wanted to show him the proper respect on this Nox, because I kind of alluded to Dardez's Nox support, which I guess I won't show any disrespect since he won and had one of the more memorable moments of the SPL. Maniac in some trouble here, but pretty prime on the Nox has been one of the 2 Nox players that have actually impressed me with their Nox skills. It's been him and MLC Stealth, 1 player in each region. I don't think there's anybody else out there that can play the Nox as proficiently as Pretty Prime.
These are the 2 of the players that have been playing it the longest, so I don't think that's a coincidence, though, with Nox starting to become a little bit more meta. A lot of mid laners picking up this goddess in the mid lane. Wouldn't be surprised to see some more impressive performances, but I don't disagree with you. Pretty Prime, the premier Nox player for me, certainly in Europe. MLC Stealth, the one in North America that I always look to. And they just have a really deep understanding of the kit, not using that ultimate exclusively for kill secure, but using it to start off a team fight to make sure that the enemy is doing less damage to your team. The Shadow Step knowledge that Pretty Prime has. I remember at the Masters Land getting that insane first blood in the mid lane with it. Just these characters look so comfortable with the Nox, and it's always exciting to see them play it.
That's the key there, is how nuanced the Nox kit is. It's very easy to look at it and just go, well, yeah, big nuke, big trouble puddle, right? Okay, you got a leash, but it's really the nuances when you start the team fight, like you mentioned, and yeah, I'll never forget that at LAN, taking the movement ability first. Gets the first blood. No other ability would have confirmed that first blood, and had that not worked out, lost lane immediately. Just the confidence and the understanding of the kit, very impressive from Pretty Prime.
Always willing to experiment a little bit in the mid lane. I think that's what's exciting.
Reason.
True. I mean, he's not going to be out here playing Anubis, but he's always willing
you gotta
to
stop with the Anubis hate.
you gotta be willing to pull out the Morrigan. I mean, Pretty Prime was the first one to really show that the Morrigan is a viable character in the mid.
Variety in some trouble here. Terra Ultimate gonna help out. Long distance shot from Nox won't hit, but the tower dive is good. Variety able to jump away to safety. Captain Twig still on the run, likely to catch up, especially with the double back from Variety. 1 swing and 1 basic earns it. That's the 2nd kill for Obey here in our 5th minute. Nice dive coming out from Maniac and Captain Twig, making sure to keep putting the foot on the gas in this early game.
Love the fact that Twig held on to his jump, just making sure that he can secure that kill with the Gungnir's Might and the shield. So even if someone was rotating in to stop him from retreating after that tower dive, he was going to be able to escape. And what was the double warrior composition for Obey that looked great. The double warrior for Obey that's looking great in game 2. It's just the fact that it's 2 different warriors.
Captain Twig on this Odin. We control QO Fred a little bit. I'd like to see a Jar Jar Binks skin for Odin. Gungan's Might.
June 24th, 2017. A sentence was formed with words never put in that order. This is a historic moment, everyone.
Gungan's Might. It'd be great.
I think I speak for literally everyone on Earth when I say, miss me with that.
It's been a really long day, chat.
Are we hitting real high-res hours early here today?
It's real Bomb King hours right now, dude. I'm just out here. Obey.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, we're just...
Already?
Oh, wow. Variety. Okay. I'm sitting here waiting. Like, you know what it is? I think it's just the change of the game here for Obey and Dignitas. This is the top of the crop here, folks. And I think what we've seen all day has been very tumultuous, a lot of tumultuous games, very, very high action. And I might have expected a big bang fest, a big just like, hey, kills, kills, kills. And here we're just not seeing that. Why do you think it's such a different style here from these top teams?
Because these teams are better. That's it for me.
Exactly.
I mean, Europe is not one to just have those hodgepodge kills where everyone's just, you know, going at it in the mid lane.
Did you watch Rival?
They're fighting for a reason. Yeah, I did. And they didn't look like a top team in Europe during that set because they were fighting for no reason.
Sure.
It wasn't calculated aggression. It was just fighting for the sake of fighting. And that's what Obey and Dignitas have really made their mark with during the summer split is we're not going to fight you unless we can get something out of it. And even then, we'd rather just take what we want and leave, but not leave anything else up to chance. These teams, this is the way that SMITE is played at the top level right now. And I think that it's more exciting to watch for me because watching these teams strategize and find those little openings to find the kills is really cool.
Right, it's about that, oh wow, that's going to be an interesting stun. Variety still likely in trouble. The jump from Captain Twig not going to be good. That'll be enough for a retreat. Maniac and Captain Twig about to get collapsed on by Cubo. Fred dashing forward on that Jungle Bologna, but not much damage there just yet. Jungle Bologna only level 8, comparatively speaking to Twiggy, who's level 9, jumping away from the root out of Trick's tank. And the escape from Odin should be fine, who has built the Talaria boots. So he's got a little zoom as long as he avoids the damage in the combat.
Got quite a bit of movement speed, and we've seen Twig go for these Talaria boots as of late. A little bit more worried about his farm than his damage in the early stages, and I love it on Najah because of the easy Talaria procs with the ring toss. On Odin, you're kind of either full committing or you're not. You're not doing a whole lot of poke damage necessarily. Really probably relying on that extra movement speed to allow him to get around the map more so than the gold procs.
That's what I think the key is there. Captain Twig takes a big chunk as Zeros goes and hits him with the time rift. Now Captain Twig needs some help. Drops down the ring for himself and keeps Variety out of trouble. Variety now exiting up on the north side. Emilzy makes the rotation, but he gets smacked by Cubo. Fred jumped on top. One more shot will do it. Emilzy walks back into Cubo, but it just don't matter. Maniac gets the kill. Emilzy finally falls to the hand of Arkle. Make that 2 as he takes down Pretty Prime. Ataraxia trying to battle with Arkle, who then turns around and looks for the fight against Maniac.
Maniac's in the middle of 3. There goes the bomb over the top of Twig. Can't find anybody. Trickstack gets his ultimate up just in time. Maniac just waiting for that Scarab's Blessing to go away and smacks him down with the Magic Cudgel. A 2 for 2, but Obey lose Pretty Prime in the mid lane, and he has that Doom Orb.
That was, it was pretty rough. Oh, this early on, the Doom Orb, not too big of a deal. 0 stacks, you can't cut that in half, really, right?
No, you can't.
Just finish that?
You can't divide anything by 0, nor 0 by anything.
Yeah, I mean, you would be dividing by 2, not 0. But thanks, math guy.
You literally just said 0 stacks, can't cut that in half, and I agreed with you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it should be.
I'll never do it again.
Well, Arkle got a double kill. You got something fancy for that?
A Dublayoon?
Oh, yeah. Where'd you get that one from? I wish you could see his sanguine-eating grin right now.
Sanguine means blood. Oh, I get it.
Team Dignitas, 2-4 right now. 10.5 on the clock, and Dig still trailing. Obey wins game number 1 by a landslide. Honestly, a very quiet landslide. Game number 2, similar feelings here.
Obey didn't blow Dignitas out of the water from the very start. It was close for a while, and then it kind of fell apart from there for Team Dignitas. You're right, Obey, this game does have a very similar feeling, and Dignitas doesn't have the late game that they did in game number 1, though their late game is nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, Kronos is as good as it gets in the later stages. Jingwei very potent as well.
You know, I take issue, I have a little bit of an issue with this Bologna jungle. When she first came on, she was much, much more powerful in the way of damage and the way of chase potential. Almost, I won't compare her to Susano, but the feeling was there with the speedy passive and just unable to be outrun. And she was played in the jungle heavily, and I liked it then. I think the changes to the character that we've seen, Ryan, she's not as potent in the jungle as she used to be. I think other warrior options are more effective.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's more the fact that teams are picking this Bologna to jungle, not because it's the best jungle option, but it's because it's the best option to keep it out of the hands of the enemy solo when you pick Osiris.
But there becomes a push and a pull where at what point Terra Ultimate popped? Oh, it's for the right side. Variety's in trouble. I don't think he's going to get out of this one, even with A little bit of help from his friends. Maniac finishes that one up. Down goes Variety. That's another kill, number 5 for Obey. Here comes the Cavalry, though. QO Fred zeros a Trick Tank, right side shift.
Perfectly timed gank from Obey. Look at the items so far between the two solo laners. Maniac's got the Gladiator Shield. He's got his Power Spike. Variety, he's going for that greedy Mystical Mail build, and when you're on that Steel Mail, you are incredibly punishable. Great recognition by Obey, and where I said the meta in EU has really evolved into punishing junglers and making sure they're behind, kind of saying about solo laners down 3 levels to Maniac right now.
I think it's the right side of the map in general. You keep the right side down, and that allows your Portal Demon pushes, and of course your eventual Fire Giant pushes, a little bit easier time, and of course your speed buff invades. All 3 options are kept down to a minimum as far as threat is concerned when you're able to go ahead and make those moves on the right side of the map.
And that's where usually the early game has been hiding for these teams in Europe, where the mid laner and the hunter are really going for late game oriented picks right now. That's been kind of the meta that's evolved in Europe. The right side of the map is where the early game is to carry that mid and left side towards the late game. So if you can shut down the early game, then the later game characters never get a chance to get there, is the idea. It's just a matter of how is Europe going to adapt to this sort of strategy that teams have adapted to.
Yeah, I really like the push and pull and the elevation of the meta in Europe. Evolution? Sure. I actually really meant to say elevation.
Oh, okay.
Because in all seriousness, it seems like, and as we noted, this game not as action-packed as some of the other teams because they understand the intricacies of this. They need smaller windows than everybody else. So they've elevated, the meta has elevated to this cerebral sort of high thought process. Right now, a little bit more brawn than brain. As Captain Twig just throws himself into 3 players, has the team available, and Ataraxia, where did Trix Tank go? He still has the ultimate available, just got blown up, and you can shout out to Pretty Prime.
That combo from Nox prevents the ultimate from coming through from Trix Tank. That was so smart from Captain Twig. He jumps onto Arkil to force Trix Tank back towards Arkil and guarantees the cage onto 2 members instead of just 1. Twig had no intentions of ever caging Arkil there. It was always looking for Trix Tank. He just had to put him in the right spot in order to cage him. Great plays there out of the jungler for Obey.
And those are the plays that I'm talking about, Aggro, is that the windows have to be smaller, and the opportunity for these kills and these ganks are, it's just a smarter game that these teams are playing. And you know, so I you know, jokes aside, I know we're definitely having a lot of fun today, but you know, absolutely, the meta has been elevated at the top end of the European scene.
I don't disagree with you. The fact that these teams don't fight unless there's a reason. The picks and ban strategies have gotten better and better from these teams. Very rarely do you see a team outright lose a draft because of picks and bans.
Yeah.
You see teams win drafts because of picks and bans, but not lose them, and I think there is a very distinct difference there. I mean, even game 1 of this set, I would argue that Obey won in picks and bans in how they transitioned their picks into the game. They did a better job of adapting their strategy according to their draft than Dignitas did.
And yet there was nothing wrong. Well, QL Fred might have something wrong with him. He's stuck. He's rooted, but he'll be fine. There was nothing wrong with that Morgan first selection by Team Dignitas. I think there was nothing wrong. In fact, everything was right with the Nemesis selection and response.
Yep.
So yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun really watching these teams and Europe in general sort of progress and become these dominant powerhouses. And it's a nice turning of the tides. I mean, Energy has been the world champions for 2 years running, but in general, NA has generally seemed to step. It used to be Energy, North America, and then Europe, and now Europe has sort of like caught up, and it's fun watching Europe be the dominant region.
It has been a lot of fun, and I figured it out today. So Hindu Man has been saying that he thinks NA is probably going to win Worlds this year because, in his words, it's because the region that you think is going to lose always ends up winning. But I think he's trying to Caster's curse NA. I think he's going long con on this one.
Yeah, it makes sense. Long con, out con, in con. Either way, Hindu Man's always trying to con somebody. Oracles on the left side go to Obey. They have the vision. Team Dignitas have the numbers, though. 4 players here to Obey's 3. There comes Captain Twig right on in with the blink. And he's going to separate his team from the enemy. Well done with the big ring.
Trix Tank does get popped because of the Nox ultimate, but Maniac is waiting for him
Double stun.
in that mid lane. Two members show up to support their support, but Maniac's still looking for it.
Still can't catch up, though. Nice stun coming out from Variety, keeping his support alive. 4 players from MOBA pushing up in the mid lane, likely to see this tower fall down. Cubo Fred jumps on top of Maniac. So does Variety on that Osiris. Maniac still able to get out. Can't say the same for Emilzy, although he does finally. There's going to be the dash away. What looked like a full onslaught from Obey becomes a full retreat as they get pushed out of the mid lane, mainly by the rotation from Arkle.
Arkle definitely doing a lot of damage right now. Second on his team in player damage, and so is Ataraxia. He's on second on his team as well. As Arkle in some trouble. That ultimate already back up for Captain Twig. Arkle forced to use the airstrike to get away.
Yeah, I mean, Odin in general, his ultimate is on a very low cooldown. You couple that with the Breastplate of Valor, built third item, 20% CDR, and he's really going to be able to drop the ring at any point's notice, which is good because it's kind of all Odin does at level 14.
I mean, Bird Bomb's still hitting pretty hard at this stage of the game. Sitting at level 14, you've got both abilities max. You've got the Mass Immune to give you yourself that 50 power, quite a bit in that kit, and the scaling not as poor as it used to be on abilities like that Gungnir's Might. So I think Odin transitions a little bit better towards the later stages than he used to, but I don't disagree that we're getting dangerously close to the time where Twig will become that ultimate bot. And as long as he's making sure these cages matter whenever that Phantom from Trix Tank is on cooldown, that's enough. That's all Odin really needs to do.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up statement, is that, like, yeah, that tough noogies for Odin, you don't really have that interesting of a kit, but the ring is all you need. It's so powerful. It's going to force out that Phantom. It's going to be up roughly 2 times for every 1 time Phantom's available. Cold Fury started here by Dig, but they're likely to retreat, and that'll be the full retreat. Now it's an all-out to push forward with the Terra ultimate, jumping up and down, and there's Pretty Prime going to be caught up. QO Fred on the chase. The hammer's going to be avoided thanks to the mitigation of the Aegis. Pretty Prime safe on the tower. For now, as QO Fred takes him out off camera. Trix Tank going to be next for Maniac. The Monkey gets the kill. Variety getting chased by 3 players right side. Left side, however, Captain Twig finishes zeros off underneath the tower. 2-on-1. As Arkle's there as well. Captain Twig don't care. Fighting the Hunter. Mid-tier 1. Variety chase underneath.
Twig in a little bit of trouble here from Arkle still, but Arkle's been forced out of this fight entirely. Variety is going to be able to escape underneath the safety of his tier 2. Arkle might be getting baited a little bit here. Goes for the airstrike, and so he's safe. Smart plays there.
Yeah, Arkle's been very careful and very cautious. I really enjoyed watching Arkle this game because he's staying from a distance, and then he goes up and close and personal when he knows he's going to get ringed, and then he just baits it out with the ultimate. Nice plays coming out from Arkle. Oh,
Variety missed the 2. He missed the 2. Now he's going to die, I think. Ataraxia's here. No ultimate. And Variety falls when he thought he was the one going to get the kill. Honestly, either way, I think Variety likely dies and would not have been worth it. Variety 0-4 right now on this Osiris, level 14.
Not his best set, to be honest with you. Not even just game number 2. The Robin really wasn't that exciting either. In game number 1, Gold Fury going to go ahead, and it's leashed out and stolen by Team Dignitas. Oh boy, Bay can't be happy about that. That was the one that was supposed to push them up in the lead. Instead, Team Dignitas stays relevant, only down 2K.
No.
Raxia falls down. QL Fred 2, 3, and 3 on the Jungle Bologna.
You can just look up the last 45 seconds of action underneath the how to tilt off the face of the planet dictionary listing. I mean, that is brutal. You not only lose that Gold Fury because you jump off of it because you're scared of some abilities that really aren't going to steal it or kill you, and then you lose 2 members. You might be able to make that 3 as Twig is forced to use his cage to get away. Sprint, or excuse me, the Terra's Blessing also used by Emilzy, and now Dignitas, they're going to get another objective in their book. That's the Portal Demon, so...
That's tie game?
That's tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, Dignitas were down 2,000 with the Gold Fury. They were down 3,000 almost with the Gold Fury. That puts them down 5K essentially, right? Which would have been, I mean, 5,000 is the first step that a team can make to say, we are stronger than you in every team fight. When you look at 2,000 to 3,000, all right, y'all got like 0.1 of an item. We can still fight into that. Obey lose that 5K lead and instead wind up trading the lead out. Dig, they're up by 600 for illustrative purposes. That's a lead change. Obviously, the game tied right now. Variety again finds himself in trouble. This time, Trickster here to help out. Rotation through from Emilzy as well. Dash is going to secure the route onto Variety, who jumps forward. 3 on 4. Dignitas have the numbers, but do they have the power?
Here comes Pretty Prime, though, and Zero's going to take a lot of damage. Trickster with the ultimate. Nice ultimate out of Pretty Prime. Dodges out Zero's, and instead goes for Variety. Zero's rewinds right into the middle of the entirety of Obey.
Saves his life for the second, but not for the long term. Right into the clutches of the opposition as Variety Zero's goes. Variety will opt to go back to base. Stopped is the back.
Arkil, he gets rooted in place, and a deleted Prime is doing it all right now for Obey. Trix Tank on the run. Twig's going to knock him down.
Hugo Fred gets silenced out of the hammer. Wonderful play by Pretty Prime. I almost thought he was going to take 3 players with 1 ability.
He really could have. Bludgeon would have absolutely killed Ataraxia, Maniac, or Twig. Whatever unlucky soul got their skull cracked by it. But Prime was on point yet again.
That's the understanding that I'm talking about.
Yeah, just always on point with those. His combos were there as well. The ultimate forcing Variety out from a distance. Variety could have potentially stayed around without that. Look at how much damage that Siphon Darkness did that fight. Yeah. Almost 1,600.
That's scary.
That's multiple rotations. But that's a lot of damage. Look at how much Prime did in total. I mean, that is just a preposterous number. We're talking almost 3K in that team fight alone.
I mean, yes, it is multiple rotations, but it's on one of the hardest abilities to confirm.
Yes.
I mean, the person has to be stuck in it, right? And luckily, Pretty Prime picks this Nox. And again, this is the biggest point I want to drive home to the fans at home, is that these selections to come out are not in a vacuum. Nox is selected here specifically with Captain Twig and Emilzy's selections in mind, as well as Ataraxia's. Multiple routes, multiple situations, which puts the opponent in a spot where they cannot move. Not just a good stun here or there, not just Nox by herself. Pretty Prime's 1,500 damage is confirmed by everyone else.
And not only that, but it also does a great job of shutting down Dignitas' roster, too. I mean, you've got Trix Tank. He's not going to be able to ultimate whenever he's silenced out. Arkill's not going to be able to dash away if he knocks himself up if that silence comes down. We saw Cuvo get interrupted there in that last engagement. There's plenty that you're picking this Nox for on both sides.
When it comes down to it, gods are all about these finer points. Team Dignitas defending underneath their tier 1 tower here. Cage out by Odin, going to separate the team a little bit. Hugo, Fred, and Trix Tank take the brunt of the damage. Here comes Maniac, wrapping around the backside, looking for the knock-up. Hugo, Fred jumps away. Tier 1 tower is toasted, and Zeros rewinds. No, save that. Gets tricked out by Trix Tank, and the Chronos is safe either way. Cuvo Fred is not. Captain Twig pushes up and pushes down Cuvo, and the tier 2 tower toasted as well. Raxia with the structure damage.
Twig has so much movement speed between the speed buff, the Talaria boots out of combat movement speed buff, and that mass immune. I mean, he closed that gap. Yes, he had blink, but still felt like he was an eternity away. Still got there in time. Damage
on the Phoenix, so much so it's already dead. Variety goes the same way as the Redbird, and Arkle and Zero is safely in their own Titan room. Trix Tank, on the other hand, body block to oblivion, and Ataraxia takes down the support.
Now Zero's forced into the rewind. He's going to be put in a pretty good spot here, trying to return some damage onto Emilzy. Stun is good, actually catches the dash, but it was all just a bait for Prime all the way down the mid lane. That's the deicide. Obey.
Oh no.
Find both.
They have a minion wave. No, Cuvo's here.
They can't.
Okay.
Prime is so good, man.
For all, you know what? For Cuvo Fred just laughing at Maniac. You know what? For as slow and steady pace that the early game was, that single sequence sort of, not that you have to make up for it, but makes up for all the action. That action was good enough. That's what I'm saying.
That's why I love watching these games, man. It's a chess match, you know? It's every move from the very outset is very calculated. It's very close. And then the end, it's almost always fireworks, and that's what you can really count on from both Obey and Dignitas.
What do you know about chess? There's no fireworks in chess.
I've watched Tolly play a lot, so I've garnered quite a bit.
There's no fireworks in chess.
Well, I'm aware of that, but I'm talking about this game. The early game's chess. The late game is an explosion.
All right, Magnus Carlsen, why don't you calm down over there? 19-6. Obey leading this one by a long shot. Game number one. Very quick. Game number 2 a little bit more drawn out, but still Obey does have the reins in their hands.
Obey definitely kind of got a reality check towards the beginning of the summer split. I think that they felt a little bit overconfident. Ataraxia said it himself during the interview that we had with him last week, that they came in a little bit too confident. They got knocked down a few pegs by some of these European teams. Enix taking a game off them in the early stages of the summer split. You can tell that they have been rededicated to the focus of winning this next LAN, really looking like a top-tier team once more.
Maniac in his zone, 3 players out by his lonesome, just Maniac things. As the rest of the team looks at the tier 2 tower, Captain Twig going to make the rotation as well.
Twig is here, level 20, looking for a cage potentially, but Variety has his passive ready to go, so that cage wouldn't make any impact at all onto that solo laner. Instead, it's just Twig and Maniac zoning away the rest so that Ataraxia and Pretty Prime can get to work.
Ataraxia still trying to push up. Meanwhile, Captain Twig jumping backwards. Keep in mind, left Phoenix and right Phoenix, the only ones up. Very spread out as Obey. This is actually really bad positioning coming out from them.
But they already used the cage and got that Phantom out from Trix Tank. So this is why you see Obey starting to back up. Fire Giant and Portal Demon are about to be available. And so Obey can either take the objectives and probably win the game off of those, or force Dignitas to come into them and fight and take the game off of that. As soon as Twig's ultimate is up, don't be surprised if he's looking for that blink cage.
Portal Demon already done. Variety going to jump over the top. Not enough to secure it, and basically could have just given his life away. Bracer saves him for the moment. Beautiful knockup. Arkle, the man, the king, the legend, finds a couple of knockups. Great crowd control, and completely turns that fight around, saving his solo laner's life, forcing Obey out of the conversation. Arkle by himself saves what could have been the game.
Variety also had a big 3-man ultimate there that set up for Arkle, but I don't disagree with you. Ataraxia had both relics and just blew up before he even hit the ground.
Just got destroyed.
Perfect funneling there by Variety. Basically herds all of Obey into that narrow corridor and allows Arkle to make that play.
And so if Variety goes down right there, I mean, the rest of the team fight is said and done, and Obey push and win the game. That gust, I mean, you saw Ataraxia die Hebo style in the air off of the knockup. Arkle saves the game for one more push. I mean, I'm not saying that wins the game for Team Dignitas, but the game could have ended right there. And that play from Arkle, absolutely one of the most important plays of this game.
I don't disagree with you. Saying it 4-2-1, he's top of his team in player damage. Doing what he can on this Jing Wei. A lot of, he's gone for a kind of hybrid build. Some pen between the Ichaival and the Executioner, then the Chin Sides, which I love, up against these double warrior for Obey. But then into the Wind Demon. This is kind of the awkward nature of Jing Wei, where you have crit in your kit. And so you want to utilize that by building more crit chance. But at the same time, against this roster from Obey, I think the pen build would have served Arkle a little bit better. It's just, you feel like you're giving something up no matter which route you go for on Jing Wei.
I would have rather, you know what, on the Jing Wei, I don't mind the last item throwaway Deathbringer. I have it, so why not? But I don't like it. I agree with you. I would have liked the full pen and then just toss a Deathbringer at the end. Captain Twig going to toss himself at Team Dignitas here, and that's really how he's been successful. Walks up, baits a bunch of stuff, drops a cage, baits the relic, and then walks away. Variety not going to have the luxury of walking away by himself. Instead needs to be helped out by Trix Tank. Captain Twig in trouble, half HP on the Odin. Obey pushing forward, Zeros with the wraparound, looking for the big damage, and he gets it! 1 for 1 as Emilzy takes out Zeros.
But again, Ataraxia falls with both relics. I don't think it's going to matter as much this time, though, because Prime is swinging. Trix Tank locked in. Another kill goes Prime's way. He combined to blow up Zeros before he could get a relic or an ultimate off. This late game Nox damage is just becoming too much to handle for Dig.
16,324 damage out of the mid-mage. All of it has been relevant damage. We like to talk about fake damage or bonus damage. Every single chunk that Pretty Prime has exerted has resulted in either a kill or a chase away that winds up being as good as a kill.
Prime uses his teammate to get inside to make sure Variety doesn't hit him with that ultimate. Nox ultimate comes out and actually doesn't do anything there. Cuvo not going to be too worried about that one. And with Arkle returning courtesy of his passive, good call from Obey to back up and reset again.
21 kills for Obey so far as we just passed the half-hour mark. Team Dignitas staying in this game simply by definition. They've been down 10,000 gold for almost 15 minutes now, and it's been pretty troublesome for them coming into this one. They lost game number 1. I still think they can take game number 2. That's kind of the nice part about lasting this long in the game, Aggro, is that the gold lead is just there to tell a story. One team fight, either direction.
Emilzy getting pretty low, as is Variety. Ataraxia shows back up and is immediately focused out again. Variety has to receive that Scarab's Blessing, and Twig going deep into the back line. Cage isn't quite up, though.
Maniac takes out the Hunter. There's going to be trouble as Cubo Fred, he's lonely on the top side. Emilzy gets chased out. Good job by the damage dealers out of Team Dignitas, but it's ultimately Ataraxia that serves it up. Tricks taking Arkle. The dual lane, the hope for Team Dignitas in this game are toasted. Maniac takes out Cubo Fred as well. Captain Twig takes out Zeros. These are all individual fights across the map, Ryan. And with Fire Giant down, it looks like the final push for Obey is done.
They've got quite a bit on these respawn timers. 50 seconds for Zeros. The next one up is going to be Trix Tank, and who really cares at 33 minutes about the support respawning? Can just knock down these Phoenixes and go for the end potentially. Though Arkle is up at about 20, a little bit concerned.
They're just going to knock down these Phoenixes. Absolutely true.
And knock down Variety as well.
They're going to knock down Variety. Absolutely true. Obey Alliance earned game number 1, and they've earned game number 2. Here, long fight. In the second one, however, Obey 2 games above Team Dignitas. There were a lot of questions at the beginning of this split. Is Dignitas the best team in the region?